Yes, I'm Chuck Smith. I'm Isaiah Peoples' defense attorney.
You want to tell us what happened in the agreement?
Sure. You were given a copy of the complaint that charges 8 counts of attempted murder with special allegations regarding the use of a deadly weapon, to wit a vehicle, and other special allegations. We waived arraignment, meaning that we did not ask the court to read the 8 counts. And we put over the matter to May 16th for entry of plea. And that's routine in these kinds of cases. It allows me and my team to have an opportunity to review the case, review and gather background information about my client, and present further information on May 16th and decide what course the case is going to take. Sure. I mean, clearly it's a case that his mental state is the issue. There's no real issue in terms of what happened, but his mental state is going to be the battleground in the case. We're going to have him evaluated by the best people we can find, because like all veterans, he deserves the best people we can find. So we're going to find the finest forensic mental health experts in this area. We're going to ask one or more of them to evaluate Mr. Peoples and find out what happened. Because here's a man that, along with the very small percentage of our population, of our citizenry that actually served their country in war, he served our country honorably and admirably. And he's led an otherwise blameless life. So there's no explanation for this other than his service, the things he saw, and what happened to him mentally while serving our country. This is obviously a story that we're seeing unfold in many, many cases across the country. Our state, California, as you all know, has enacted several pieces of legislation in the last few years to recognize that veterans and veterans with PTSD and other mental disorders deserve not to simply be locked up, but rather treated and helped. So we'll be urging the DA and the court to take a view at that kind of resolution of this case rather than simply locking this good man up. He's a religious man. He prays for and cares about the people that were injured, as we all do. We're cognizant of what they've suffered, and we want this case to get resolved in a way that they will understand and help them bring closure to this horrific episode. I can't talk about my conversations with him, so I don't know if publicly, either in the media accounts or what the police department has talked about, whether remorse was expressed, but obviously I cannot talk about our private conversations.
So just to clarify, are you disputing at all the characterizations from the police that this was an intentional act, that he intentionally ran over?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know how a police...
Absolutely you're disputing it, or absolutely that's correct?
No, absolutely we are disputing that this was an intentional act. This act clearly was a product of some mental disorder or mental defect that caused this to happen. So these announcements by the police, even the chief of police, that this was an intentional act and he admitted that he intended to do it, we dispute that, we will challenge that. We don't think it's worth, quite frankly, any consideration. So how's your client paying for his defense? That's something between my client and me. He's got a loving family, and his loving family is helping. I've worked with many veterans over the years, and I think I owe it, as well as my team members owe it, to help these people and help them in a way that is not going to enrich any of us, but allows us to provide a public service to veterans. And so that's where I'm coming from in terms of talking about compensation. His family is hanging in there. I've had many conversations with his mom, his cousin, his brother, and again, they just seem like good, solid people. They talk about his character, they talk about the things he's done, how he's cared for sick and elderly people in his own family, selflessly and diligently, and he just sounds, from everything I've heard about him, to be just a fine man.
And you came to court today. Who were some of those people?
I'm sorry?
You came to court for today? Who were some of the
A
family?
cousin and his cousin's son.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. My name is Phan. I'm the chief of the Sunnyvale Department of Public Safety. I would like to take this moment to report that our ongoing investigation into Tuesday's tragic crime in our community has uncovered additional information. Based on our investigation, new evidence shows that the defendant intentionally targeted the victims based on their race and his belief that they were of the Muslim faith. We understand that you will have many questions based on this announcement. However, we will not be releasing further information for now. This is an ongoing investigation and its integrity is vital. Our department and the district attorney's office are closely working together to make sure that we carefully gather and analyze all the evidence. We are both committed to making sure the community has accurate and up-to-date information. More information will be forthcoming. The district attorney's office, who now has the case, will provide updates about any charging decisions as this case moves forward. One thing that I can add is that the young girl who was severely injured in the attack remains in critical condition at an area hospital. Our hearts are with her and her loved ones as we pray for her recovery. Her family has asked us and you and the media to please respect their privacy during this difficult time. I'm sure you will all understand that their focus is on trying to heal. They do not wish to be interviewed at this time, and we hope you will respect the request to be left in peace. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jay Boyarsky, and I'm the Chief Assistant District Attorney for Santa Clara County. Standing alongside me is Senior Deputy District Attorney Carlos Vega. He's one of the finest trial lawyers in our office, and he will be personally handling the prosecution of Mr. Peoples from this day forward. Mr. Peoples has been charged with 8 counts of attempted murder. 4 of those counts have an enhancement for causing great bodily injury. Those charges carry a sentence, a maximum potential sentence of life in prison. I want to first thank the Sunnyvale Department of Public Safety under the leadership of Chief Phan for very professionally dealing with this horrifying and horrible crime. His department was on the scene within minutes, and they've been working this case non-stop, discovering more evidence as he just alluded to. I know that there's questions about what the motivation of this crime was, and some of you are wondering whether or not this is a hate crime. There is no hate crime allegation charged at this point in time for one reason only: the matter is still being investigated. However, as the chief said, there is very appalling and disturbing evidence that at least 1 or 2 of these victims were targeted based on the defendant's view of what their race or religion may have been. So the message that District Attorney Jeff Rosen and I and Chief No and all of law enforcement in Santa Clara County want to send to this whole community is that we have zero tolerance for any sort of hate crime. And that we are standing with the victims together that were on that street corner on El Camino Real. And we're standing with that little 13-year-old girl in her hospital room. When a crime is committed because of someone's nationality or their race or their religion, it's not just that individual victim that is hurt, it's our entire community. And our entire community stands united against hatred and bigotry. Does anyone have any questions that they would like to ask Chief No or myself at this point in time?
What is the evidence that led you to
We're not ready to disclose that information at this time because the investigation is still active and ongoing.
You say you're not believe that he acted
This is an active investigation, and we're still conducting a follow-up investigation to sort out all the facts.
But in terms of premeditation of this, speak to that.
It's still ongoing, and we're still trying to sort out all the facts of this incident.
Go ahead. You were going to say something?
I was just going to say, Len, it's a great question. I know you have a lot of questions. What's the evidence? Tell us everything you know. But you all know that at this early stage in a criminal prosecution, there's limited information that we're going to provide. What's important to know is that we stand with the community. The police, the district attorney's office is doing an excellent job following every single lead. We've consulted with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. They stand ready to provide any necessary assistance. And we are going to hold this man accountable for the horrific crimes that he committed. There were 8 people that were injured, and the ethnicity and the color of the people's skin and their gender, it represents the amazing and wonderful diversity of Santa Clara County. And every life is sacred. Now, if there is evidence that warrants the filing of a hate crime enhancement on this case, in addition to all these charges that carry a potential sentence of life in prison, I guarantee you that we will file such a charge. Are there any other questions?
Yeah, the charges filed said each of them have potential life in prison, not all together, right?
Each count carries a life sentence on its own.
What Mr. Vega said is each count, which is an attempted murder, 4 of the counts carry an enhancement for causing great bodily injury. Attempted murder carries a potential for life in prison.
Can you comment about the PTSD claims that are coming from the family?
No, we don't have any comments. I don't imagine the chief has comments. We're going to
be looking at all angles. And again, I want to remind people this is early on in the investigation. It's only been several days, so we're trying to sort all the facts that we can in this investigation. And as I mentioned yesterday in my press conference, as we get significant updates in the investigation, we will make sure that the public will have the information.
Can you tell us when this new evidence came out? I mean, obviously it's so late that you couldn't include it in the charging document.
This information came out late yesterday afternoon.
And just if you want to directly respond to what his attorney has said, that this was clearly a result of a mental disease or defect, and that the correct response is treatment rather than prison, what's your response?
I actually don't want to respond to whatever the defense lawyer said. What I want to say is that the Sunnyvale Police Department did an amazing job, and that there's 8 people that were severely injured as a result of this man's actions. And it's traumatizing to these victims. It's traumatizing to the police officers that had to see the carnage. It's traumatizing to all members of the community who wonder about whether these people were targeted because of their race and religion, and that's why we're pursuing every single angle in this investigation. So we stand together as law enforcement with the entire community. That's the message that we're here to send today.
Any more questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Was it in response to your press conference yesterday? Do you have anything to that?
No, it's just part of the investigation process.
Thank you, guys.
Chief, sorry. The 13-year-old is currently in critical condition. What about the other 7?
Their conditions have not changed since yesterday. They remain the same.
Serious condition? The 7 are in serious condition?
Yes, in serious condition.
Thank you.
Would
Appreciate
say
your time.
what religious affiliation